So my name's Mary Carolyn. I live in Tarragindi. I'm a carer to my son Jordan, who was born without any disabilities, and he was 11 when he had a massive stroke from a bleed in his brain, which he was given a 3% chance of survival. When he came, he was in a coma for quite a while. And then after it must have like a month or more, he started to come out of his coma, and we were found that he was vision impaired and had an acquired brain injury. So he had severe short-term memory loss and cognitive issues. And he also then had medical conditions. 12 months, well, not quite 12 months later, they found a brain tumour. It was too hard to find because of the amount of blood in his brain and then the amount of swelling, so everything had to settle down. They found the tumour. Then he was, when the tumour started to grow, he was placed on chemotherapy, but he was having platelet transfusions all the time. After the chemotherapy, they put a halt to it. His tumour grew again, and so then he had another biopsy, which was a craniotomy, which they cut from across his face, and we found that the tumour was actually not wrapped around his optic nerves, which is what they thought, but in both optic nerves and chiasm. So he was going to go completely blind without any vision or light whatsoever. After that, he was put on radiation and a trial drug, both which didn't work. And then when he was 18, he had 2 more bleeds. Then he developed narcolepsy, lost more vision, his memory loss, the gains that we'd made on his memory and cognitive issues went right back, and then he developed epilepsy. So he's vision impaired with terrible short-term memory loss and processing skills, and he has narcolepsy, which is a sleeping disorder, and epilepsy. I felt like up to when he was 18, I tried to be very positive and very, with the forefront with trying to think of strategies and looking after him. But then when he lost so much again when he was 18, it was just, I actually got really, really angry. Just angry that, once again he had to start from scratch, and you just feel like, and I'm sure I can't be alone, but sometimes you just feel like everything's a fight. And when you're fighting some of the medical stuff, and then you're fighting the disability stuff, it's just, it wears you down. So it was only the last, I think it was 2016 that he was put back on the trial drug. We still had side effects, but he wasn't on the trial as such. He was put on for compassionate grounds, because the tumour was going to kill him. It was just going to keep bleeding and cause more damage. And it was after that it took me a long time to really let go of the fear, because it was the fear that was, dictating my life, and to let go of the fear and to really relax. And so he's been, they're not saying that he's still getting MRIs every 6 months, but we're definitely in a place where we can look more for the future and, keep worrying about that fear all the time. The fear just becomes part of you. You become on hyper alert. So you have no choice but to live with the fear, but you're always on that hyper alert for anything that's wrong, because you don't want to be caught out. And so, living with the fear meant we moved from the Sunshine Coast to Brisbane, because we didn't want to be 2 hours away from a neurosurgeon. Living with the fear meant that I tried to be proactive all the time. So he got a seeing eye dog. I was constantly looking at things that he could participate in, because even though I lived with the fear, as long as I had something to focus on or something to help Jordan with, or proactive ideas that I could push, it helped me cope, which is not too good for you, but that's what happened. And so to get rid of the fear, I don't think you ever get rid of the fear, because like we've got other medical problems that are can be life-threatening, but the fear of that that picture of watching blood drain out of your son's head through a tube, that's my fear. That's just come with time and patience. I mean, I've seen a few therapists and things like that, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's really hard. Well, it's been hard for me to have those positive affirmations to try and tomorrow's another day and all that. When sometimes your happiness and your letting go of the fear is reliant on somebody else that you love and care for. Because no matter what happens in their life, it has an effect on you, no matter how positive you try to be. And so the fear for me, letting go, has just been time and those MRIs that have been stable for the last 3 years. And every time they're stable, I'm able to let go a little bit more and a little bit more and start looking at, what can I do next for myself? And keep Jordan moving forward, but trying to give him now some bit more independence and to give me, to find out who I am again, which sounds so cliche, but it's so true, just to find out what makes me happy and not have all my happiness tied up in just something I can't control all the time. And there's no right or wrong way. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. We all deal with it differently. And it's really important that we deal with it differently and in our own way too. And people don't listen to people who try and dictate how you should feel, or because they've never been in your position. So it's just taking advice, listening to people, trying to get help, and then slowly trying to put that together for you. And if that means that you can't do it for a month, well, you can't do it for a month. If you think to yourself, I'll try every day, it's not a failure if you can't do it. But slowly, you get there. Some get there quicker, some get there slower. It doesn't matter. It's just doing it on your own time as well. That's a while ago now, and I think, it's funny when you're a carer. Well, not funny, but you run around spending and trying to find all the information for the person you care for, and then no one really tells you there's things out there for you. And it was only by chance, and I think it was because I was trying to find some respite. So it would have been around our 30th anniversary. So on our 20th anniversary, my husband and our wedding anniversary was when Jordan was in hospital in a coma. So for the last 10 years, our anniversary has been all about, we've been with Jordan. We've never been able to get respite or anything like that. So I rang the Commonwealth Respite when it was still Commonwealth Respite, and spoke to them about could I get some respite, because it was our 30th anniversary. It had been 10 years since we'd been out. Yeah. And so they organised some. And so when I was talking to them, they also mentioned about the Carers Foundation Australia. And of course, I knew nothing about this. And so I looked into it because I try and be proactive with myself as well. I got in contact with Ronnie and I went on a retreat. And it happened to me my birthday as well when I left. And I had, I never knew a place like that existed, where it was just so comforting and so supporting. It was very supportive, comforting, peaceful, and quiet. And, you're with like-minded people, and you always know you belong, but you really feel a sense of belonging when you go there. And the people, Ronnie is just the most beautiful person anyway, but also to volunteers that she has with her and her family are just loving people that welcome you there and try and, just try make you feel like you've just got a couple of days of just peace and quiet, and that it's okay, and yeah, you belong and you're supportive. So my mother had Alzheimer's, and so that's been very hard for me. She just recently passed away. So I didn't, you know, you always want your mum anyway, but she wasn't in a position, um, you know, to support me or just talk to me even. Um, and I did for a little while from my sister, but only when Jordan was in hospital, and then not really. And I think too, well, with me, I'm not the kind of person that will just go out and, you know, keep asking for help. I think a lot of people because you do become depressed, and the fear drives you to that too. And I think a lot of people that have depression, you know, the last thing we want to do is you know, be in a position where you're asking for help. I mean, you just don't, because you just, you know, you just don't. Well, I didn't. And so I had, because we'd moved from the Sunshine Coast to Brisbane, I really didn't have any friends here. My whole last 12 years has all been about support for Jordan, and people don't understand, and people don't understand acquired brain injury. They really, really don't. They, you know, they would think, oh, well, you know, he's home now, he's fine. And, you know, Jordan wouldn't remember people that he would meet, and it wasn't really inappropriate, but he would constantly ask the same question. And it's like, and it's like too with kids with cancer, when we found out he had the tumour, and people are like frightened too. They don't want to, you know, it might be, I mean, people know it's not catchy, but, and they don't know what to say. So they just think, oh, it's best just to, you know, not go or not ring, or, so, you know, no one would ring. And the school was pretty supportive at the start, but I mean, that's the school. So for me and my husband, it's really just been about the two of us managing for the last 12 years. And in those 12 years, we've had some pretty horrible times, but, you know, thank God we've had each other, and we've been able to draw strength from each other. And he's been my rock, where I'm a bit more I'm a lot more emotional. He's been my rock. So no, being able to, from not having any support at all, except really the two of us, to go to even for just a day, to be able to go and to have people like Ronnie, fabulous. Ronnie just loves everybody. She remembers everybody, and everybody, I mean, she makes you feel like you're just the most special person, you know, and she does that to everybody. And so even after the carers, when you come home from the retreat, you do bring home for a little while some strategies that help. But also to even just being on Facebook and just being able to chat to people or message people, or, you know, occasionally I'll ring, but it's more like a message. Sometimes too, that's, for me, that's enough as well, knowing that I've made those connections. So that helps, because I know that if I had, you know, if I just needed to offload, someone would go, you know, look, I'll ring you, or just send me a message, or, yeah. So what I would like to say maybe to the rest of the world, and I know I'll kick myself because I'll have better things to say, but I think with carers we need some empathy, we need some understanding, and sometimes we just need to be heard, and sometimes we need to be better looked after. And I think there is a bit of a shift with that, and I'm very happy about that. Except for places like Ronnie, for a very, very long time, carers get very depressed. We just very tired, and there's just been really no help. You know, you just feel like you're I don't know. I can't even put that into words properly. And I think people need to understand that we do a good job, and some people do an amazing job. And I look at other carers that have, you know, children or adults with many more problems than my son, and I just think, you know, they're quite amazing. And I think we need to be looked after a little better. And that's why it's people like Ronnie who really bring our plight to the world and to people. And without them, we'd really have no support. Well, I don't feel we'd have much support at all. You know, even in the hospital, it's all about the patient, not really about the carer. And sometimes we need help. You know, we're the ones that have to look after the people to the best of our, you know, ability. But if we don't have more help with mental health issues and things like that, then we can't look after people, and then they just become more of a problem for society. So we need to look after our carers, and we need to give them respect. It did. And I'll be very blunt. When Jordan came home after his stroke when he was 11, he's now 24, it was like I was dealing more the emotional side. Andrew was more, well, you know, he's fine now. I've just got to get back on with it, go to work, which is good. Like, we needed that. But we still had no answers. And so that was, I think that weighed so heavily on me. We still didn't know why he had a bleed. He'd had a lot of, you know, he'd been for an angiogram to see if there was anything that was amiss with blood vessels. Everything was fine. They couldn't find the tumour because there was so much, you know, swelling, damage, blood clots in his brain. And so, and already then I had PTSD. And so it could have gone, there was a time there that it could have easily have gone either way. But we realised that, you know, our strength is our friendship too. As you know, we're married, but our strength is that we are the best of friends. And so we were able to get through that. And to be honest, now, even when Jordan had that bleed when he was 18, that because he had another bleed too on the table, but at 18, it just, because we'd gone through it, he was my rock. So I kind of saved Jordan's life when he was 11, and we were in the hospital, and he was bleeding in the hospital, and they weren't paying any attention, but we knew what was going on. He was the one that was my rock. He was the one that persisted on a doctor and pushed in the hospital to get a CAT scan. So, and then we got the news that we already knew that he was having another bleed, and he has been my rock. Where he sometimes is very analytical and I'm more emotional, it works. It works. So yeah, it could have gone either way, but yeah, we've kind of come through together, and we understand now, and we both want the same things for Jordan. So Jordan wants to be he'd like to be a Paralympian. That's what he aspires to be if he could. So he rides a bike. So Andrew gets up a lot of times at 4:30, 5 in the morning, and takes him out on the tandem and things like that. So, you know, we both support him in different ways. And we've got the next journey of finding more independence for him, but we do it together. So I've been lucky, and I suppose Andrew has been too. So we've got each other. I have my family still, that I have my son and my husband, and it's my family.